Welcome everyone to Manifesting with Meg, Conversations with Extraordinary People. This is episode 103 of October, Empowered Through Service. And tonight I have an amazing guest with me. She is Carlyn Montes de Oca, and she is the author of Dog is My Doctor, Cat is my Nurse. Is that correct?
Dog as my doctor, cat as my nurse.
Okay, even better. Dog as my doctor, cat as my nurse. She is going to be vibing the theme today. It is in giving that we receive. And I love that because literally it is the golden rule, and to a certain extent where we treat others as we want to be treated as well. So in the giving, in the receiving, we're here to offer that to all of you. And this is a show about transformation, dreams, inspiration, true happiness, discovering bliss. We'll start our conversation because we're just one conversation away from extraordinary. It's time to wake up to a universe packed with possibility. And I get to introduce you to Carlyn. She is an animal advocate, international speaker, and the #1 Amazon best-selling and award-winning author, as I said, Dog as My Doctor, Cat as My Nurse. Carlyn has been featured on ABC, C.B.S., the San Francisco Chronicle, and gave a TED Talk called The Life-Changing Power of the Animal-Human Health Connection. I love this. I'm a huge animal lover, and I can't be more excited on this evening to talk to you. A longtime resident of Northern California, she now lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico with her husband, Ken Fisher, an award-winning sound editor, and their beloved rescue dog, Grace. Her upcoming book, and this is why we're all here, Junkyard Girl, A Memory of Ancestry, Family Secrets, and Second Chances, will be available next week. November 2nd is her launch, 2022. I am so excited to be talking to you and celebrating you tonight. Welcome, Carlyn. How are you tonight?
I'm great, and I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God. One of the things I love, first of all, is that you're a huge animal advocate. So any person who is going to champion the animals of the world, I'm like, I'll be your friend forever. Because literally, I always said that animal dogs are either cats or dogs are the animal guides. They're the ones who, take care of us. So those that take care of them, is quite a beautiful thing to behold. And one of the things I love to do with the show is get intentional. And at the outset, I ask everyone to obviously set their intention. Magical Guide to Bliss is what the show is based on. So let me give you a little showcase of that. And we pick one of the intentions of the book, and at the end of the show, we'll go through it and we'll see how your intention for this evening matches the insight. And one of the coolest things about this magical guide has become how incredibly synchronistic it always turns out to be in the end. Like I said, tonight our theme is in giving that we receive. And I wanted to read off to you how wonderful this quote is tonight, because I think it really sets the tone for an amazing conversation. It's Winston Churchill, British statesman and 20th century Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. He says, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." And, interestingly enough, your story, Junkyard Girl, I'm not going to give anything away, even though I just really love, I can't wait to have a book club to talk all about it. But, it's really interesting how that giving and receiving, the whole giving and receiving and the whole, played a part in your memoir. And it really is something that you really set with me because, like I said, the animals, it was always like the animals were your constant, your dogs were your constant. And I think that in many respects, I found that to be very mirroring my own personal life because the animals have been always a constant. So one of the things I want to talk about tonight is in giving is received. We are like always recipients of beautiful, wonderful things from others. When we talk about, have you ever been receiving something like that? Have you ever out of the blue received something from a friend? And in this case, well, I don't know how much you want to tell about the crux of your story, even in Junkyard Girl, but the DNA, the receiving of information from that, even that in and of itself is, quite a wonderful, giving and receiving kind of playing out in your life. But, when we realize that it really is that generosity, that part of our lives that we reach out to others and bring them in, we receive so much more in kind on the other end as well. So perhaps you've been lucky enough to be on the receiving end of that. Certainly I have. Rest assured, when you give love and you're out there in a generous spirit, then you experience like 12-fold, 10-fold 10-fold, 20-fold coming back to you. And I want to parlay that into the animals. I can tell you, they look to us to take care of them, but what we receive from them in the other end has been, for me, even more amazing. And tonight is the anniversary of my dog Leonardo. I have his little picture here. So I feel like, it's a perfect conversation around animals and what they can give to you, because wow, the impact is amazing. So with that, what are your thoughts on this whole concept, this whole theme? It is in the giving that we receive.
I am all about that 1000%. I don't know that I certainly began life thinking that way, but I certainly have found that to be true. In thinking about giving and receiving, I was thinking that a long time ago. I remember in my early 20s, I was driving over the Golden Gate Bridge, and there's a toll at the Golden Gate Bridge. This is in San Francisco. And when I pulled up to the toll, the fellow who was at the toll said, "Go ahead, you don't have to pay." And I said, "Why not?" He said, "That person paid ahead of you."
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And I thought, and I looked at the person, they didn't ask for anything. They didn't wave to me. They didn't do anything. And that has stuck with me for 40 years. I have thought of that moment, thinking of just this little generous moment. And ever since then, I love the idea of random acts of kindness.
Yeah.
Just not taking credit for anything, just giving. And one of the groups of individuals that I believe does that so well are animals. And I think that in a sense, being of service serves us, really. It serves the person who gives. And so animals are that way, whether they're service dogs, emotional rescue dogs, your pet dog who lays on your lap and just loves you when you're having a bad day. I think that service is what can make the world go around.
I think that's absolutely an incredible point. And I think that, everyone is always looking out for what's in it for me, what's in it for me. And at the end of the day, it's like that. Okay. Yeah. I think that we all need to fill our cups. I do believe that that is important as well. But at the end of the day, when we actually do these random acts of kindness, you feel so much more incredible and so much more alive that it turns your whole heart on. I think the light and the shining, comes from you because you feel like someone's given to you and poured into you. So much easier to pour into others. And I love that you said that. And we have everyone here. Leslie's here and Valerie's here, and they're all saying wonderful things. Your memoir is exceptional, and it is absolutely exceptional. I want to hear a little bit about your story. And I know that it comes from experiencing those really random acts of kindness to many extents. I think that, with regard to your life, it's a fascinating story. So why don't you tell us a little bit how you got here with 2 books, your memoir coming out, and just being an animal advocate. You're also, you do holistic healing for animals as well as humans, right? Humans are also incorporated in that as well, or is just, go ahead.
Well, I've had 3 careers. I'm on my 3rd career, but this is my career I'm staying with. So how I got here, at least in my professional life, was that I started off in the movie business. Oh, and I have to tell you this story, Meg, because talk about manifesting.
Love it.
When I was 17 years old, I was sitting with my big brother in a movie theater, and we were watching lightsabers and spaceships, and we couldn't even put popcorn in our mouths because we were so in awe of Star Wars. And I remember when I had never seen anything like it. And when I was done, I remember thinking to myself, I want to do that.
Oh, and I love it.
And I didn't know what doing that meant. I didn't know what it meant. But next thing you know, I got into film school in college, and then I got a job working for George Lucas at Lucasfilm. And so I was doing all that, but I was doing film editing. The thing is that then I moved to Los Angeles and worked in Hollywood for a while. And the movie business is a tough taskmaster. Boy, long hours. I was pretty unhealthy because I was just never getting enough sleep, always eating really poorly and never exercising. But about 20 years into it, I decided, what else can I do with my life here? What else is there? And I had been getting acupuncture from these amazing acupuncturists, and I was so inspired by how well I felt. And I thought to myself, okay, I'll go study Chinese medicine for a summer and see if I even like it. with the idea that I would actually try to help animals with it.
Love it.
But I got so absorbed in it that, I quit the movie business, or I sort of did that part-time and then went to school at night. So I did that. And when I graduated, I opened my own practice up in Marin County in Northern California, did that for 15 years. But at the tail of it is when I would sit there and listen to my clients start telling me about how their animals would help them heal, whether it was from cancer or depression or a wide variety of things. And I thought, wow, I know animals have been so helpful in my life. I know how much they have helped me go through my own bouts of depression or sadness, grief, loss, whatever it was. And then I thought, this might make a good book. And so it was at the tail end of working in the acupuncture field that I had this idea. And that's when I started to work on my book. And at the time, it seemed like science was also coming up with more and more articles about the benefits of the animal-human bond.
Yeah.
So that's how I got to being an author. But boy, I never expected to take a DNA. I mean, I took a DNA test for fun 3 years ago, just for fun, and also to see how much Jewish blood was in my mother's maternal bloodline.
Yeah.
And God, I never expected to hear the words, Carlyn, you're adopted, especially 5 decades on the planet later.
Okay. So everything that you just said is a lot. I'm going to unpack it now because I think it's really important. Okay. So you actually wanted to be a part of Lucasfilm, and you actually were a part of Lucasfilm.
Yes.
Amazing. And that experience, just that in and of itself, because I'm so interested in that world. How did that help you as an author with your first book?
Absolutely. I think editing, even though it wasn't my number one thing that I wanted to do, I always wanted to be a writer.
Yeah.
But writing was a little harder for me to get into than editing. And editing I worked with some really brilliant editors who really understood story and knew how to put pieces together. So I think that was really helpful in my putting the important pieces of my book together. For example, a lot of people don't like to get rid of things, or I'm like, fine, it doesn't work, get rid of it, I'm done.
I love that. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
No, and I was also thinking how so many people have told me that the book reminds them of a film. And do I have ideas about making a film? And so I think that at least unconsciously, I also operate in that way.
Yeah, no, I think that is, they always say how many 10,000 hours till you're an expert. So if you're doing that, there is no doubt that's going to permeate into your writing. And I'm always been a fan of reading a book and having it come to life on the page as if I were reading it in a movie theater and watching it come to life. And I think, I haven't read your first one, but you're definitely your second one. The way you set it up, the way you went back, the way you took it around, it definitely was engaging. So that takes us to the acupuncture before we jump into this. Wow. So this is a whole different, you're in this crazy world. Leslie's saying it's a crazy world of, film and the whole writing and the editing and everything. It just goes super fast. And then, you decide to step out and you go into this whole world that, Chinese medicine, acupuncture. What did you learn about yourself in that realm that you've taken into your writing? Now, I mean, I know the first book is a lot about that, but now, even telling your story through a more holistic healing approach, what have you taken into this part of your life with regard to that?
I think working as an acupuncturist was amazing. In fact, I remember I worked when I was working in the movie business, my last job, and I did it for about 2 years, was working for a very well-known writer at the time. He wrote Pretty Woman.
Okay.
And he had written many things, and he was, a brilliant writer. And I remember saying something to him about, I think I'm going to leave the movie business and I think I'm going to go do this acupuncture thing. And everybody else thought I was insane. Like, what? And he said, you know what? I think that's a good idea. You need to go experience life so you have something to write about.
I love it. Oh, yeah. That's great.
So sitting with people day after day and listening to their stories, and I think it taught me to be a really good listener.
Yeah.
And to not try to impose myself on people, to really listen to where they're coming from and to provide a safe space.
Yeah, that's
And,
awesome.
and it also showed me how to be vulnerable in a way that I wasn't before, just allowing myself to be with them, just be in their pain, in their anger, and whatever it was, and realize, oh, I'm okay. I'm not hurt by that. I'm actually connecting to this person. So I think so taking that and then suddenly being able to write, I realized, and to work on my books, I thought, gosh, I'm coming from a new perspective I didn't have. It's, I feel like my heart was opening more and more and more. And I think with this last book, it really opened up.
So that takes me to this beautiful cover, Junkyard Girl. Tell me about that. I love it. It looks like, I mean, clearly it looks like you. That is, I think, what you were going for, I imagine, Tell me, like, this is a beautiful, engaging cover. Tell me, how did you come up with this?
Well, oddly, I came up with the idea. My husband and I both talked about the idea of it, like, oh, a really old car and me and a dog looking at the clouds. But I will give total credit to Christy Day at Constellation Book Services, who somehow took that idea and did this, because that does look like me and that looks like the dog I had. When I
Wow.
saw it, I was so blown away. And it really resonates with me because it was my body type, everything.
Wow.
So I found her and she did that, and I couldn't be more pleased.
Wow. No, it's a beautiful cover. And I think that, they always say, don't judge a book by its cover, but this is clearly engaging. Like, as far as the clouds and getting to know you only via your book and what I've known about you through our connections, the clouds for me symbolize, that imagination that you have, that beautiful, fluffy, pillowy, when your life may not have been feeling like that, but yet this is like was your solace, and I wanted to, one of the things I do love about the show is because I get to peek into your mind with regard to what inspires you. So before we go into the DNA aspect, wow, first of all, I love this quote. It's amazing. Until one has loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened. Anatole France. Tell me, what does this mean to you?
This means everything to me. I believe this to be true. I think that maybe I wasn't fully awake until I discovered the deep connection and allowing myself to talk about it, because
Yeah.
that's the other thing. You can keep it really quiet and not tell people. And in fact, when I wrote this book, people started coming out of the woodwork and telling me their stories and then saying, oh, but you must think I'm crazy. And I'm like, no, I wrote a book. I totally believe this to be true. And I think that has something to do with the fact that animals, like especially the animal companions we have in our home, I mean, this is the way that they connect with us, is through our hearts, through our souls, through feeling, through emotion,
Yeah.
not through words.
Yeah, not through words. And you travel a lot with your animals, right? You do go with Grace,
I pretty much go everywhere with Grace. And I know this is jumping the gun, but in 18 months, we're going to go to Portugal.
Oh,
Uh,
that's wonderful. Oh, that's I know we had like been talking about the whole idea of you wanting to go to Spain, but now for the Camino, are you doing the Camino with Grace?
We want to do that, yeah, as long as she's up for that. But
Yeah,
yeah, but the other thing too is we don't have to do 20 miles a day or
yeah.
15. We'll go at a slower pace if she needs it.
Oh, I love that, exploring the world. And I think that, there's something to be said. People love animals and they greet you differently when you have one. I put a meme up recently that says, I'm the kind of person who talks to dogs. That's my world. I talk to animals. That's, everyone's like, yeah, me too. Anyway, well, this is the next one. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And I love this Chinese proverb. One of the things I was telling you at the outset was, how I'm trying to be really present to those things, those plants, those trees, everything I want to grow in my life right now, as if I am living the dream. I am in this life living the dream right now that I always wanted, that my dreams are coming true and I'm experiencing it. Tell me what this means to you.
Having spent so much time as an acupuncturist and studying Chinese medicine, I'm all about prevention.
Oh, yeah.
I am all about prevention, whatever that is. And I know it goes beyond health, but to me, it's like, the best time to do something is yesterday.
Yeah.
So start early, and that goes for health. That goes for many things.
So when people come to you, like, with regard to their health, you treat people and animals then, or just people? I remember I had asked
Well,
that.
yeah, now I'm full-time writing. So
Oh, okay. So you're not doing the acupuncture.
no,
Okay, very good. Okay.
I technically still have my license and whatnot, but I am putting all of my efforts into my writing. It feels, for me, it was like, how many people can I touch? How many people can I help? And in some ways, being an author so far has allowed me to reach a lot more people.
But you also did a TEDx. Tell me, how was that experience?
Oh, I loved it.
Well, I love the
Yeah.
title, The Life-Changing Power of the Animal-Human Health Connection. Tell us about, like, how that topic came to mind. I've seen it. It's excellent. Everyone go on TEDx I'm sorry, TED Talks, and check it out. It's a really wonderful, engaging TED Talk. But tell me, for you, how did that come about for you?
Well, it's interesting what Facebook can bring into your life.
Yes.
I was on Facebook one day and somebody reached out to me and said, would you be interested in doing a TED Talk? And I was like, what? Who is this person? And then I saw I had met this man many, many, many years ago, but
Yeah.
he was an animal lover and he kept liking the things that I was posting. So he
Yeah.
says, so I had to interview or do an audition or at least talk about what I was going to do. And they seemed to like the idea. So I was really fortunate because I
I
do know
love
that
it.
TEDx talks are a little hard to get on.
Yeah.
But it was great. I will tell you, Meg, it was one of the peak experiences of my life. I remember thinking at the time, after I had done it, as I was flying on the airplane to San Francisco to do another talk, I thought, it was so amazing because it made me almost let go of any lingering fears I had about public speaking.
Love it.
And it was such a beautiful connection with people and the other speakers. So it was great.
And what year did you do that again?
Oh, man, I'm not gonna have that down.
Oh, no. Okay.
I don't remember, but it was after my book, so
Yeah.
2018 maybe? I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because I was trying to say, like, it was, like, juxtaposed against the pandemic, when,
Oh,
everything
before the pandemic, yes.
before that. Okay. Well,
Mhm.
as Leslie's saying, and no joke, dogs are sitting next to me listening to this or something. Anyone who doesn't love animals, which, clearly these are people that I love, certainly, with the idea that you're bringing this whole idea, the human and the human animal health connection. They say it calms you down, it regulates your blood pressure, your breathing. Dogs sense when there's something wrong, even like with regard, my father has a dog and he follows him around all the time, like literally keeping his eye on my dad. I'm like, wow, thank you. I keep saying, thank you, Zach, for taking care of my
Mhm.
father, because it gives us a reason to breathe, I think, sometimes as animals of ours. So, I love that you said that. What is maybe a kernel that you can give us tonight from that we could all take away perhaps and share with someone else, other than go see the TED Talk, go see it, go check it out.
Well, how about if I share a story from that? That was
Oh,
pretty
please.
amazing. This is a story I shared on the TED Talk, which was that there was a woman who was, she was a computer person, and she was on her computer, and her dog, who was about 12 years old, and I remember the dog's name was Kayla, she was under the computer and started whining. And the woman was like going, be quiet, but the dog wouldn't. So she took her to the vet, and the vet said, hey, I've done lab tests. There's nothing wrong with your dog. So she went back to work and the dog kept crying and whining. And one night she was laying in bed and she was trying to calm Kayla down because her husband was trying to sleep. And all of a sudden, Kayla, who's 12 years old at the time and hadn't jumped on the bed in like 2 years because she's arthritic, jumps on the bed, starts scratching at the woman's breast until she made it bleed. And then when her husband woke up and felt the breast, he found a growth.
Oh,
Now, this woman had already been to the doctor and a month before, and the doctor had given her a clean bill of health. But he
yeah.
said, oh my God, this is an aggressive form of breast cancer, and that
Oh
dog just saved your life.
my God, that's amazing.
So
Wow.
there are, I mean, yeah, that's a big extreme case, but we have seen many times that animals
Wow.
will know if a person has cancer,
Yeah.
high blood pressure, if they're going to have an epileptic seizure,
Yes.
and they can let people, they can let their guardian know. But gosh, I mean, there is such a wide variety of things that our animal friends can help us with when it comes to mind, body, spirit, which is total health.
You know, and you see more and more that a lot of the military people use the animals for emotional, you know, support animals, which, you know, keeps them like very much on even keel, because the dogs will understand when they're going to have a panic attack even. That's amazing. You know, that goes to the point where it talk back to your acupuncture and the energy that we all give off to each other. Wow, it's incredibly in tune what the elements that we exude, you know, basically that even the dogs are so much smarter than we are, because we ignore it. We don't pay attention a lot.
It's true. And one takeaway, if I could have people actually just think about this, even if they don't buy it, but just think about it. The one thing that animals want, our dogs, our cats, is to be safe. They want safety. Yeah. So that they're very alert to you when you stop breathing because you're tense or stressed, or you start crying, or whatever that is. Yeah. So, for example, for me, I rescue dogs and they often come with some baggage. But in order for me to help them, I need to really be more balanced in my own, you know, in my own space. So when you're seeing your dog act out or do things that you're mad at them about, okay, maybe they did it. Take a breath and then look at yourself and see what you may have contributed to that scenario.
Yeah. That's fantastic. That is, it's always looking at ourselves, right? When people around us are acting out, it's always looking at ourselves. It's like, what's happening in me that not that, you know, how am I a part of this whole thing?
How do we attract that?
But like the fact of the matter, and I love that you're saying this, because we're so connected to each other. All of us are so connected. And when we hate speech, all of it, like that, you're hurting yourself. So that's one thing I never really truly understand. And dogs are certainly in tune to, they bark when we argue. They don't like, you know, they just like, you know, it agitates them, and they're so in tune with the energy component for sure. But like the whole thing is that we're all connected. And I love that you just said that, because, you know, look at yourself, check it out, what's happening within you. That's amazing. I think it's totally on point. And it gets better. As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. I love this. I love this. I love this. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence actually liberates others. That goes into what I just said about the connectiveness. Marianne Williamson, please tell us what you think about this.
I love this because I think it's so true. And, you know, I think about how I grew up, and I grew up with a lot of shame and a lot of, I was depressed a lot. I was unhappy. But yet it's an interesting thing. I wrote this new book that's coming out, and whereas it's a memoir, I wrote everything about myself, you know, in that book. And I let whatever that light was shine. I didn't know I was doing that at the time, but I just sort of took off all the barriers. And one of the things that I have loved so far is that people who've read this book in advance, advanced readers, have somehow connected to some part of their life that somehow connects to that life that I had. And these are people who are completely different. They didn't grow up in California. They grew up in New York, or they grew up in the South, but yet they find some kind of commonality and something that says, gosh, I grew up sort of like that, or in some way, and they connect. So I believe that to be true even now more than I did before. Our light attracts light.
I absolutely agree. And I think that the fact of the matter is, like, what I love, giving other people's permission, because you were able to get past your fear, to speak your truth, to stand in your power. And I think that, like, talk about empowerment, talk about empowering yourself that will actually empower others. And I think this is absolutely beautiful. And then we go to this. And one of the most potent ways to discover and accept yourself is to tell your story honestly. There you will find yourself. Harold Pinter. But this is memoir. This is memoir. And it can be novel as well. But this is when you stand in those pages holding your truth. Wow. Sharing your story with everything. And that goes back to what you were saying before. But tell us what this means to you. And then start talking about the DNA test. Oh my God. It's just wow. Yeah.
Well, I want to share that my husband's cousin actually sent me this. He was an advanced reader, and he sent me this, and suddenly things made sense on a whole other level of because I feel pretty empowered, and most of that is because I've shared something so deeply personal, and people have not. I always thought, well, you would get rejected. People would reject you or reject me if they really knew me, but they've done the opposite.
Isn't that amazing?
So, yeah, and I love that about writing, Meg. I love that when we write our truth. And I only sort of started to really write what was true in my first book because I was still a little bit like, what will people say?
Yeah.
But every time I write it, I feel much more empowered and, just more of myself.
I love it. And
And,
well, and also, going from an editor's standpoint, when you were editing with the films, that's being really scrutinizing the story and pulling out, this is about emoting everything that is important to you, that impacted you, how you experience it, so we can feel what you felt. And imagine you take a DNA test and then all of a sudden your whole world is turned upside down. I mean, I don't know if you want to share a little bit about that, since it's the crux of Junkyard Girl. But why did you write this book? Why did you want to share this part of your story, or your whole story?
Sure. Well, it started off with an absolute need to put it down on paper because as a writer, that's how I figure things out. That's how I process things. If things don't make sense or I'm unhappy about something, I have to put it down on paper. And in the doing of it
Love it.
is when I kind of get a better grasp of what I'm doing. So discovering I was adopted so late in life really was the ultimate, let me pull the rug out from under you and then wrap you up in it and I don't know what. Because it was like a Molotov cocktail of emotions was going through me. Because it was such a like wreaking havoc on my foundation, my identity. It felt like
Yeah.
that was like completely in, pieces. And I had to put it back together again. So writing the book, I just had to. There was just no other way around it.
Yeah.
But what happened was that as I wrote it, and I think as I let certain people read it, I started seeing that it was somehow helping other people, and especially other people who are late discovery adoptees like me. A lot of people haven't moved past that. I mean, it can be years and years, but it's so traumatizing to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what? I think I'm seeing that this book might be or help people maybe on their journey to get to the other side.
Well, I think any effort in our own lives, back to Marianne Williamson's quote, any effort that we give ourselves the permission to accept ourselves as we are, but to know to know ourselves in the writing and the journaling and everything that you did, and then sharing it so that someone else might step into that healing process. Start it off might be the beginning, but any time we can let go of the trauma, then our soul is at peace. Our soul can experience things differently. And I think that's the gift, what you did in many respects. And I love how you walked us through your childhood and you walked us through the different relationships. I'm not going to tell everyone, but it was just definitely this moment, right? That wake up call, the hero's journey begins. It's, oh my God. But you're thinking, okay, I just want to learn a little bit more about my family. And then you find out so much more. And that will take us to this last quote. Be careful of the suffering you take from another, because it may be the one thing that wakes them up. Anonymous. Wow. I was just like, I love how you built on them, because now this says so much, right? I mean, talk to us about this, because I think this goes to the heart of what you did in this book.
I promise I've read that quote somewhere.
Oh.
And I've loved it for years. But when I tried to find it again, I couldn't find it anywhere. And then I thought to myself, did I sort of start making up this quote? But it speaks to me. This is like the crux of who I am or who I've become. I certainly didn't start off this way, but it's the idea that, so many times somebody will be upset or somebody will come to you and they'll want you to be upset. Like, you be upset with me. You're my
Yeah.
friend. Let's hate this person together, or let's feel this way about this other thing. And
Oh
the
my God.
thing is, and
Funny.
that's kind of funny for a little bit, right? But the truth of the matter is, anger is just a shield for a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And, maybe it's grief or sadness or fear, at the root of that, Marianne Williamson, All About Love and Fear. But I just, and that's one thing I learned as an acupuncturist about not judging and not saying this is good or bad, but it being empathetic, of course, and feeling for other people, but allowing people to come to their truth and to not take it away and just go, oh, it's okay, it'll be better tomorrow. But let's just allow it, because this may be the thing that wakes you up. Like in my situation, boy, was I suffering when I learned this. And it wasn't an intentional suffering, like I want to suffer. It was, I can't help it. I'm just crying all the time. I don't know why. I feel abandoned. I feel all these things. But I also knew enough by then that I needed to go through it. I mean, to get past it. There was just no way around it. And I knew that if I could get to the other side, that there would be some treasure. There would be something that I could take, something I would learn, something that would be kind of worth this journey. So so maybe that was a little bit of my awakening too.
Yeah, and back to the, I love that we have Winston Churchill's quote tonight, but he said also, when you're going through hell, keep going, keep going, don't stay there. But, if someone's trying to take, no worries, you're fine, don't worry, we'll take care of it together. You're not going to walk your own journey. And I, one of the things I found in life, the hard knocks of life, that, you have to own the path that you decide to walk. And I think that how you did it was specific to you, authentic to you. I don't think anyone can show you how to process the grief, the trauma that you had. And I think that you definitely were very effective in communicating that in your book. And I think that so back to Junkyard Girl, and I'm going to lovingly show it again because I love the cover so much. I always wonder, what is it that you want to offer the world with regard to this book? Now that we're a week away, what is it that you want to give from your heart space?
Truth. One of the hardest things for me was, I'm somebody who really wants to be in the truth, even if it hurts. I just want, to be truthful. So one of the hardest things for me was that I was pretty much lied to for so long. And so I guess, I don't even know that I know the answer to that. I'll just stick with truth, because I believe that, just like they say, the truth can set you free.
Right.
So I think there are a lot of things in this book, a lot of takeaways, and maybe in a couple of years I'll have all sorts of things to say. But for now, I'm just really trying to be honest and have written a story that I believe to be honest. And I'm hoping that it's fair. And it's just my story as I see it.
Yeah. And, I have a question with regard to truth. I think for me, I hold it very, very high in regard. I don't like being lied to, especially the fact that I was a prosecutor for so long. And honestly, I was, I definitely did not enjoy when others, would like hold me along or pull me along on this path that was not honest, was not true. So my question to you is, how do you deal when someone perhaps might be not telling you the truth as you are?
It drives me crazy. Well, and the other part of it is, it wasn't just my immediate family. I have a massive extended family. I have 63 first cousins.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Oh my God.
And they all knew, but didn't tell me. So, and the odd thing is, I kid you not, Meg, about 2 weeks ago, no, actually a week ago, a woman who I knew from grammar school and went to high school with emailed me and said, oh, I saw the book that you've written. She goes, I just want you to know that I knew.
Oh,
so
wow.
There were,
oh my God. That's crazy.
There were so many people who knew. So oddly, I didn't feel a tremendous amount of anger towards anyone except for my birth mother, but there are other reasons for that.
Yeah.
I knew my parents. I know how they were. I understood them. I understood all of these people and their reasoning. So even though I felt I should have been told, I had a right to know from the beginning. I also understand. I understand, which
Yeah.
doesn't make it like, oh, it's all okay or whatever. There's
Yeah.
just that I live with that paradox
Yeah.
of I should have been told, but I understand. And I
Yeah.
think that everybody tried to do their best in how they, whatever they could do.
Yeah, I think that that's basically the most compassionate thing that I've ever heard anyone say is that, we all just did our best with what information we had at the
Mhm.
time. And that's hopefully going to be a legacy that will resonate. And with you, look at what you've been able to do and make with all of the lessons that you've had to learn, and what your offering is the whole, we give and receive. This is
Mhm.
going to be pretty impactful for many people. So this is one of my favorite parts of the interview is the time to manifest, because manifesting for me, like you said, you manifested, the whole Star Wars, you manifest all of these wonderful opportunities in life. So now what are you doing in your life to continue to do that? Continue to put things out in the world that you want to manifest? What are tools that you use?
Mhm. I think the number one thing that I always am working towards is listening to myself and my heart, my intuition. Paying attention to that is really important to me because I never used to. When I was a kid, I listened to everybody else except me.
Wow.
And so now I'm definitely, and I feel guided a lot.
Yeah.
The second thing I do every day, it's the first thing I think of, it's gratitude,
Oh,
gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. I mean,
yeah.
and the third thing is I always listen to the animals. I
Oh,
listen to my dog. I pay attention. I really do. So these are three tools that I use. It's that animal human bond that's very strong in my life.
wow, that's amazing. And I think those were very well put, because I think that with the tools that we have and we share with others, certainly people can adopt those for their own. And who knows what wonderful things will happen when, I always like take what you like and leave the rest, but I always
Mhm.
like to hear how other people navigate the world. The other thing I wanted to ask you, back at the beginning of the interview tonight, what intention did you have for this evening so that we can share it with others?
My intention was to be as authentic as I could be.
Wow.
And the reason I chose that is when I remember when I started doing podcasts a long time ago, I would memorize everything
Yeah.
and try to talk that way. And I realized, okay, that doesn't work. I just feel that whatever feels appropriate or whatever I'm feeling from you that we
Yeah.
connect, I just want it to be really authentic. And that was my intention today.
Well, I think that you're a very authentic person. Certainly from the get-go when we connected, I certainly that resonated with me. Your honesty,
Mhm.
your integrity, your kindness. I think that definitely comes through. So what number did you pick in the Magical Guide to Bliss tonight?
5. 5
Hi.
5 is my number,
It's your go-to. I love it.
and when I went to see what 5 was, again, I started laughing when you said at the beginning how things can be so synchronistic. It's so perfect.
I love it. I love it. So share with us from number 5 what mostly spoke to you
Okay,
with
the
regards
thing is, I find the author's writing so inspirational. But
Well, I received that. I received that. I received that.
so it's, number 5 is the future is completely open. The
Mm,
future is completely opened, and we are writing it moment to moment. There's
love
always potential to create an environment of blame
it.
or one that is conducive to loving kindness.
Mm.
So that's from Pema Chodron, author and
Wow.
Buddhist teacher.
Yeah. Love it.
So today and every day, you are the one who sets the tone for your life. Everything that has happened in the past is done, over, kaput, finished. A time machine is not available, at least not yet, to take you back in time for a do over. So let it all go. Instead of dwelling on past losses, seize what you've gained, the wisdom of the lessons learned through experience. Gather all the confidence you can muster and move forward. The future is completely open. That fact alone is beyond exciting. As long as you live and breathe, you have time to write the best chapters of your life. You decide whether those chapters are filled with anger and blame or with love and kindness. Today is a new day in your journey. Unwritten chapters await you. Decide now to inscribe wonder into what has not yet been written. Redirect the present moment with all that is good, trusting that the future will unfold accordingly. Declare at this moment that you will become a force of love, hope, and joy, and know that the associated rewards for doing so are already yours. Are you ready to experience what awaits you with an attitude of optimism, love, and kindness? Away you go.
I love it. No, this is perfect for all of us
Yes.
today, because I think as you stand at the precipice of this new chapter, as the book is ready to come out into the world, and how you are going to, on your launch date, show up and just share the story in such a way that, people are going to feel like very much empowered. I think it's going to be fantastic. And I love it. Just let the past go. It served you well. Now we have the information to take into our present moment so our future can be even that more bright. So thank you for sharing that. I love it. I wanted to, I love the little bits of inspiration that we all share with regard to our lives. And, I want to ask you, what is your greatest wish for this next part of your journey?
My greatest wish. Meg, it's the same wish I've had for years, and it's kind of my prayer every morning. It's a thing that I say, which is, please help me to reach my fullest positive potential in mind, body, and spirit. I feel that covers everything that I could ever want.
I love it. No, wow, that's a wonderful, I guess, a locator. Where am I today?
Yeah.
Well, if I'm not there, help me, help me evolve into the highest possible expression of my love for this myself and the world. I love it. Wow, that's amazing. And what else are we going to be looking forward to hearing from you with regard to this wonderful book? You have some events coming up, correct?
I have events coming up. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, so it's already starting to get cold. And because of COVID, I've wanted to do outdoor events. So I do have 2 events. One's on November 5th here in Santa Fe and November 12th in Santa Fe. If you go to my website, animalhumanhealth.com.
Can you do me a favor? Can you spell that out just so everyone on the podcast can hear it as well? Yes.
Sure. Animal, as in animal, human, health.com. Animalhumanhealth.com. But if you go to the events tab, it talks about that. Mostly I'm doing a lot of media podcasts. I've done interviews and whatnot. And I'll be on social media a lot with some really fun stuff. So I hope you join me there.
Very exciting. And your social media is Carlyn Montes de Oca, right? Is that
yes.
Okay,
yes.
So go find her there. And so what's next? We're going to see this in a movie form soon? Is that what's coming up?
Yes, please. Let's see if we can manifest that.
I think that would be fantastic. Certainly the whole idea of a junkyard girl, people are going to be very enticed to find out a little bit more. And certainly with all the twists and turns of taking a DNA test and then finding out a whole nother world about yourself, my God, and how you're still here to tell about it. You pushed through and you made it a part of who you are now, and the beauty of who you are now, and that highest part of yourself that you get to shine through now. So what final bit of inspiration do you have for us tonight as we go into our day tomorrow, the end of October? This is the last week. Everyone, it's an empowered through service mentality for me in October. I don't push that on anyone else, but that's my idea. And I love the theme tonight. But for you, what's the final bit of inspiration that we can take with us?
The word courage is the inspiring word that comes to mind. And mostly it's coming to mind, I think, because if my adoptive mother had not heard a woman, a complete stranger, crying in the yard of a friend's house who she stopped to see, and my mother, 24, and this woman was pregnant, she was unmarried, she already had kids, And my mother, she wanted to have an abortion. And my mother said to her, we'll take your child, we'll adopt your child. I wouldn't be here. And so that's how my journey, that's what I discovered my adoptive mother had done for me. And I think to myself, wow, what an amazing act of courage. I mean, it's one thing to adopt your dog, which I do all the time. It's another to adopt a kid, And so I just hope that maybe courage, what can we do in our lives that are maybe small things, little acts of courage, random acts of courage.
I love that. Random acts of courage. And, you talked about in the initial, the fact that courage, the heart space, and cor in Latin means heart, so certainly those acts that come from our heart, your adopted mom is living testament to that, to embrace you and the life that is you. And she's a part of you, as well as your biological mom and your sisters and your brothers and all of these people that you met over the years. So I love that you said that. Courage is so important. I think as we move toward the end of 2022 into 2023, where can we get your book? My God, it's on pre-sale right now. Let's not forget that. That is really important.
Yes, it's actually, it's a kind of a secret, but it's a soft launch that I already started. And it was mostly for the advanced readers, but people can actually find it right now on Amazon.com.
Okay.
But by mid-November, it will be available. In bookstores, it can be ordered, and everywhere that you like to shop.
Oh my! And are you going to take Grace with you to all your book launches?
Oh, I am. That's how I'm attracting people. Come to this book launch because Grace will be there.
They don't want to see you. They want to see Grace.
They want to see Grace.
They want to see you too. Oh my God! Well, tonight I have truly enjoyed the conversation. You are delightful. Your book is wonderful. It's a wonderful memoir. Certainly something that I've never read about. So that was another twist on the whole thing, how that experience and how someone, later on in life, finds out this like world rocking information and you're here to tell about it and share with others and be the light for those who might be going through something similar that can see themselves in your story. And I think that that's beautiful. And I think that's exciting. And I can't wait for the stories you get to tell from actually putting your truth out into the world. So thank you, Carlyn, very much for this. I've truly enjoyed talking to you and getting to know you. And yeah, I get to watch as a bystander now as to the unfolding of this beautiful book and your life as it goes forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Meg. It's been such a pleasure.
Such a pleasure. And remember, everybody, we're all here to be the deliberate creators of our own lives. Got to dream big and let those positive vibrations be raised to the height on this planet so that everybody can benefit. We are collective. We are not solo on an island. We impact each other. So keep that in mind. Let's continue to spread the love. Time to manifest the life of your dreams. Wishing you all bliss. Thank you and have a wonderful evening, everyone. Good night, Carlyn. Have a good one.
Good night. Bye, everyone.